Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV show and the Her Story podcast. This is Liudmila here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia this time. Yes, I'm not in New Zealand. I'm in Australia, and I'm happy to announce I am officially a grandmother and really privileged to be introducing this new show to you called The Doctor Connect. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing an expert in the health field. Dr. Liudmila Schafer is coming to us all the way from the United States. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Thank you for your knowledge and skills. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. Tell everybody where you're from, what inspired you to start this show. And we will go throughout this show with a few guests who are waiting in the back, who will share their personal stories as well. All up to you, Dr. Liudmila.
Thank you very much, Gertrude. And first of all, congratulations on being grandmother. This is a big part in all of us, in our lives and in our heart. So I am Dr. Liudmila Schafer, and I'm gastrointestinal oncologist, and I base in Kansas City, Missouri, in United States. I have been in academia most of my life, and seeing patients is my passion. I really love to see patients, take care of things day to day. And then for the last year, situation changed, and with everything going on in the world, we all start discovering new talent, new opportunities, and we realize that we have to adjust to our new lifestyle. So the Doctor Connect show came organically. It basically occurred natural. Over a period of years, decades, we all think in medicine about academic data. We work, we do research, we see patients, we do statistics, we take in tests. We are so good functioning on one side. And then we also have a community. We have different stories. We have how people function, how they live. And having those two worlds, we unite in the patient room or at the conference or at a certain volunteer organization. And the Doctor Connect show came because I would like to unite and level the playing field of knowledge around cancer prevention, research, precision oncology, sort of help people to make better informed decisions and bravely achieve the goals in life. So this is about Doctor Connect. We are connecting between the professionals, patients, community, caregivers, but also we are connecting with our mind, body, heart, and soul.
This is absolutely wonderful. It's such a great initiative because, like you said, right now the world is in a bit of a crisis. People are searching for information. They're looking for experts like you. They're looking for inspiring stories, which leads us to the next segment of this show. So we're going to bring on our first guest, a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine. Jerry O'Lyon is based in Riverside, California. I think that's where she's going to be from today, or it's Utah. Jerry, we will bring you onto the show and I will exit and you two ladies will get to know each other. Jerry will share her story before we bring on our next guest. Hey, Jerry, good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Well, I am coming to you from Utah today. Had we talked yesterday, it would have been from California, but today I'm in Utah. I'm doing my treatment in California, but I'm actually residing with my son's family here in Utah at the moment. So I came home to be ready for the next phase of my cancer treatment.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, thank you very much for dedicating time and being here. This is such a valuable and precious time, and we and our viewers are so much value. and my heart and soul with you. And thank you very much for being here. I always believe that even we are doing, so many different scientific sites and, treatment, it's so overwhelming. Can you tell a little bit backstory, how things started?
Well, interesting enough, my journey with cancer started when I was 16. I had a very black spot on my breast, which was removed. But being so young, my mother, she was in a panic over the whole thing, because oh no, and this was 52 years ago, so it's been a long time. I didn't even recognize that there was cancer, or don't even know what stage it was or anything. All I know is they took it off, and I had some complications from them taking it off, and then I got healed and I was fine. But they started probing me and poking at me every 3 months for the next year. And when I was 17, they found a large mass on my left ovary, which was also removed. And I don't know how much was, again, I was young. I did not even know what an ovary was. The doctor had to draw a picture for me. And so I didn't learn. Then I was fine for more than 50 years. In 2020, the infamous 2020, I was a flight attendant working a 4-day trip, and I had a spot on my hand that kind of looked like a pimple, but it was painful. How sometimes they can hurt, and I kind of made a joke about it, that it was painful. 3 days later, it was the size of a pea, and it was really painful. So I made the choice of going to the doctor. I went to the doctor, and COVID customers were wearing masks already. We were working on the plane still without masks. We were not allowed to at that point. And I went to the doctor. They gave me antibiotics and sent me home and said it's just probably some sort of a little infection under the skin. And it continued to grow. And the doctor's office shut down because COVID then hit big time. And they shut their offices. Nobody was seeing anyone. I kept calling and telling it's growing. I can see it growing. It was on the back of my hand, and it grew to the size of a golf ball. And it was very painful. I called them regularly, and they kind of didn't take me seriously until finally one day I just broke down and said, I can't handle the pain. I haven't slept in 3 days. Please let me see anyone that's open. And they kept saying, don't go to the hospital. You don't want to be in a hospital. So I didn't go to a hospital. So they referred me to a hand specialist, and I went for the MRI. I did all the pre-op stuff so that the doctor could see what needed to be done. When I went in for the MRI, I kind of knew then it was cancer because the guy that did the MRI was like shocked that it was so big. Because when they do an MRI on a hand, they clamp something down on top of it, and it just about made me pass out. And when I saw him a few weeks later for another MRI, he said, I knew it was cancer, but I couldn't say so. I walked into the doctor's office. He had seen the MRI. He walked in and he said, this is cancer. It's a squamous cell carcinoma, and it has to come off. And all I heard was, it has to come off, which was fabulous. I wanted it gone. It was painful, and I wanted it gone. I didn't care what the hand looked like. Mm-hmm. He did say, I'll do plastic surgery afterwards because it's so big. Then he did, and I recovered pretty well from it. And then in January, the tumor grew again. And now we're going through the second phase. This time, he referred me to City of Hope in Duarte, California. And they have been fabulous. They are an amazing institution, and they even gave me my own assistant. Like, I have a person that I can call and say, hey, I have questions and I can't figure out, when they're going to call me or what's going to happen. And he finds out the information for me right away. And so, I'm a very happy person, and I have decided early on, this is not going to take my life. I don't even know enough about cancer to know if it even could, but because it's growing inside the hand this time instead of outside the hand, your mind goes in lots of places.
Mm-hmm.
And my first visit with the surgeon reassured me that they'll be able to get it out, but it is going to take up to 4 surgeries to correct.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it
Jerry,
is a lot.
Yeah, Jerry, I think this is so valuable and so heartfelt how you sharing all information and how you took all of us basically from 50 years ago. I personally finished medical school in 1996, so of course it was much shorter period of time, but there are so many different things changed. Medical knowledge used to develop about every 10, 20 years. And then now the rate of medical knowledge so dramatically increased that basically we're now waking up in the morning and looking on the phone, what's the next treatment FDA approved? And you were from the first experience when. So when you first were, back, and it's probably very difficult to remember versus what you are right now, and you said you have an assistant and advocate, and it's so amazing how the program design, how what you were thinking, what was going on in your mind. I know we can't really tell what's happening, it's so overwhelming, and I agree. You said all we hear is this one word, it can come out. So how did your mind was back at that time and now?
Well, back when I was 16, it was on a place in my breast that, obviously it wasn't sunburn because it was next to the nipple. And when I showed it to my mom, she went into a state of panic. So, of course, that put me in a state of panic. I didn't even know what I was panicking about at the time. And then when they removed it and I had the complication, the incision opened up and it ended up having to heal open. So it was very hard for a 16-year-old to go through that, especially since I had to have my grandfather reclose it when it opened up because the surgeon was out of town. And back then, surgeons didn't treat other surgeons' surgery. So I went through that embarrassment with it. Then when they found the next one, I felt very embarrassed that I didn't even know what an ovary was when they took out the ovary. I don't even know how much of the ovary they took out because it's never been told to me. I was young and they told my mother everything, and my mother kept everything from me. So
it was a culture, back then.
It was part of the culture, yes. And now,
so
if I had a daughter, right, in the same position, she would know everything. We would do research. Back then, we didn't have the computers to do the research. And when I first found out about the cancer on my hand, I did my research and figured out, okay, so this is not a deadly cancer, and so I'm going to be okay. But the most important thing is it's going to be gone and the pain will be gone. I'm not. I'm a very healthy person. I'm very active. I like my lifestyle. I like doing the things I get to do. I sew. I use my hand a lot. And when this one came up again, the thoughts went through my mind of, okay, am I going to lose my hand this time? Because now it's growing inside the hand and it's in amongst the tendons and stuff. Okay, well, if I lose my hand, if they just let me 3 fingers, I can still sew. And if they take the hand, my most important thing is I want to be alive. I want to be 95 years old someday. And I do believe that's going to happen for me unless I'm taken by some other way. But I'm not afraid of what I'm going through. I'm not looking forward to the pain, but I'm not afraid because I know I have my faith and I have my family. I have an amazing family. I have so much family support that it's kind of mind-blowing. And it's wonderful. And I have friends, and I look to those who are positive around me because I know that's where I need to be. I do believe that the more positive I am, the better off I'll be. I can't think, well, why me? Because why not me? everybody goes through things, and it's okay. I can face this and I can overcome it.
You are such a strong mind, and a lot of our viewers also, young people. And Jerry, you are as a person, and you know that we are young. We depend on our parents, or even older in life. We depend on caregivers. What message do you think you can give young population? There are more and more. Right now, we see cancer in younger population, especially certain types. What do you think we can share with our young viewers?
With our young viewers, I would like for young people to know that us older folks, I'll be 70 next year, and I do believe that being around young people is so good for us. Right now, we're staying with my son and his family, and he has lots of children. And I think there's 5 or 6 teenagers living in the house right now, and they invigorate me because of their energy. When you're around people and you're around people who are young, you feel younger. It makes me very aware also that I'm older. And that I don't have the energy quite like they do. But I got to tell you how the love that they share with me is so, and that's what I think young people, if you spend the time visiting and listening to the stories and enjoying the company of someone who's older, it lifts both ways. It helps the young person to understand what we're going through, and it helps the older person feel better about things.
Listening to you, Jerry, I will tell that you are actually a young soul. And sometimes we look in terms of the age, but truly believe, listening to you, you are needing, you are looking for, so many new things. You're searching about your cancer, and it's so, motivated. And I truly believe that actually that stamina and that transformation, I think, we learn. I believe that that's the way, we stay young in our soul and young in our heart. And that's what helps. So maybe some of it even transparent, and we are really learning from you.
Yeah,
And yes. Thank you so much for sharing that valuable information. And I really, really hope that things go well and things go really united and smooth. And like you said, you are in a great hands, and my heart and our viewers' heart with you. So thank you so much for sharing. And we will be learning from you, being young and motivated and do so many things.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being here. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jerry, I could listen to you all day, every day. I love the zest you have for life. I love your spirit. You just take things, one day at a time. And one of the things I've learned from you in the last few years we've known each other is you do live life one day at a time. A lot of people get these diagnoses, they jump straight into fear, they get fearful, they get scared. And I think your faith is what helps you hold the line. Just that clearness, that knowing that you are cared for, you're taken care of, and everything is going to be fine. Yeah. Your positivity is infectious. I always love reconnecting with you. Thank you for that. So we're going to whip you out for a second and bring on our second guest. So don't go away, because we will bring you back again. Our next guest is another fascinating human being, creative soul, our beautiful Nina Angelo in Australia. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you, Gertrude. Thank you.
I'll ask you to introduce yourself briefly, and then Liudmila, I will whip myself out and join you guys a little bit later.
Thanks, Gertrude.
Thank you.
Well,
Hi,
thank you.
Nina. Yes, thank you very much for joining. And, we are right now in such different world, so many new things happening. And we just were speaking about how, we feel young and how we feel this and how we change and how we transform. Can you tell a little bit your story?
Yes, well, I'm in my 75th year of life now, and I spent 3.5 years writing my family memoir and my own, which is called Don't Cry Dance. And the reason I did this, starting in, say, 2017, was because my parents, who have passed, were both Holocaust survivors, and they actually met in Auschwitz. My mother was a young Polish girl, and my father was a Greek man. He was 16 years older than my mother, and I'm the oldest. I was born straight after the war. They lost all their family. There were only 2 uncles and my grandfather, who survived, and an auntie in Israel. We never had a religious upbringing, but anyway, I think because I spent those years going into their story, my mother wrote her story for us. I did not know my father's story. He never talked about it. But about 5 years ago, a friend came to visit. And when they left, they went back to Sydney and they did some research. And the next thing, I received an email with a link, and I clicked on it, and there was my father talking. There were 7 hours of interview in the Holocaust Museum in Washington in the United States of America, which I did not know anything about. So I spent those years translating, because my parents spoke 13 languages between them. But my father was talking in Greek, in French, although he was a Greek, Spanish, Jewish man. And I went. That was my first language, even though we spoke Greek at home. French was the one language that my parents could speak, and so that's how they met. And I found out, and going through and through and through, reading and writing out such atrocities, such horrors. I didn't realize as I was doing it, I'm a storyteller, I'm an artist, but I didn't realize I started losing weight. I was not well. I thought that I was grieving for all this family who had died without names, just numbers. And I excuse me. So we got to the point where I launched the book at the Jewish Museum here, and another launch, that I was shaking and I was not well. And my children said, go to the doctor. I didn't even have a doctor, even though all my Polish family were all doctors. My grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, my niece, my uncle's daughter, she's a professor of nuclear medicine at in Sydney. So I always just came in. I was the black sheep, Anyway, they said, you go to the doctor. And I did, and they did a PET scan on me, and they could see that my whole body, I had a stage 4 lymphoma, which I thought was quite ironic, considering it was about what connects me to my family and my ancestors. It was the blood. And I never felt any fear, I must say. I just took it on and I thought, all right, I'm going to have to do something about it. And I like to know why. I didn't want to do the chemo, I must say. Because I'm a bit of an alternative girl, I have friends who have been working with the university with the medicinal cannabis. And I wanted to use that. I have seen and learned a lot about what it can do and how it helped so many people, particularly with cancers. Just excuse me. That's all part of after having the chemo and everything. Anyway, I told the doctors that's what I was going to do. But my cousin Monica said, Nina, this is really bad. You have to do chemo. You have to, because it's got to hit it fast. It was all through my pelvic area, all up my spine. So I trusted and surrendered, because I do have faith. I don't have a religion as such. born Jewish, but that's how, but I have a great deal of faith.
Mhm.
And so I just trusted and surrendered and did all that I could. And being an artist, I decided, and a storyteller, I decided on my social media that I was going to tell this story, but not as a victim, but just go through my day and share it, because I know so many people who have got relatives or themselves in their family and friends who have cancer, who have had it, who have passed from it. And I thought, I found out that I had some friends who actually had cancer, but they never said anything. And I started thinking, is this like an elephant in the room? Why are they hiding away? Only now that they can see what's happening with me, are they starting to come to me and talk to me about it? And because I'm a very positive person, and so I started doing this sort of daily or every few days, just writing the things that happened. I can honestly say the support I've had from my family, because I have twins, they're 48 years old, boy and a girl, and they still at home and they looked after and cared for me. But can I just say one thing? My art, I am intuitive artist. I do my art from what feels, all my feelings. I don't plan it. I don't think it before, and nothing like that. I just allow it to channel through me. And so my journey of healing, I did through my art. And I've got it. I had 3 pieces of art that I did. And I wanted to share that with you, Liudmila, if that's fine, because I think it was important to me. When I was doing the proofread of my book, I said to my relatives in my head that I'm giving you back your names. You may have died as a number, but I'm honoring you. You're in the book. You won't be forgotten. And I'm here because of you. And I lay down. I was in Fiji at the time, and they all came to me from the dark. And I call this, can you see this?
Yes, we can see that.
I call that ancestors. My ancestors just came out of the darkness and started walking towards me. And so I got up immediately and I started doing that. So that was my first one in my healing journey, called it Ancestors. Then when I was having the chemotherapy at the hospital, the first time I was there for a long time, and I decided that while I'm there, and I called it liquid gold, and I kept seeing it as liquid gold going through my body and blasting the bad cells and rejuvenating new cells. And so I decided to do this piece, which is called Bloodlines. Whoops. And
yeah, we can see that. And yes, what is it made of? Can you describe us a little bit?
Plastic. I'm using, it's on black paper. I'm sorry about the reflection because I've got plastic on it.
We can see very well. Mm-hmm.
I'm using Posca paint on black, and it's only about that big. Those I use when I talk to people because I want to show. And with that, every time as I was sitting there I had a pick in my arm, and as it was going into me, I was visioning it, slashing and smashing the cells. And I did only that artwork. I did every session of chemo. I had six sessions, and so I only did it with that. And then the last final one, I called it Transformation, and it was my PET scan. So it was the first scan, which is this one. You can see it all there.
Theme.
And you can see the last scan, which is just my bladder there and the clearing of it. And I called that Transformation. And so they were the 3 bits of art that I used. So, there was a lot more, but I thought I'd share that with you, Liudmila.
Nina, thank you very much for sharing such a heart-touching experience. And you took us on such large journey, and we have so many questions for you. And one, that you really found your heart and soul and how intuitive you are. And I really like that, trust and surrender. I think that's what a lot of times when we wake up in the morning and we face certain fears during the day, and we face our obstacles during the day, and we don't know what's waiting for us, and hear how you are kept going and actually did that transformation. It really touched my heart. And I know our viewers just, right now, probably even have tears. But those tears, I think it's a really sometimes because we are touching ourselves and our soul to understand where we are. And I will tell Nina that it's very interesting that you mentioned about alternative treatment, because for us, we don't study in medical school. And of course, I went to medical school over 25 years ago, and right now things somewhat changing, but still alternative medicine, it's not something that a lot of healthcare professionals have been studying. And now for the last several years, it's really bringing on the surface. And what we found out, that recent statistics I was reading on the media, that a lot of patients actually also hiding. They don't tell the doctor, and they don't want to disappoint maybe doctor, or that barrier that they want to do alternative medicine. So to ask you that question, when you told first that you would like to do alternative medicine, and I truly believe that it's not just one path, it's not just chemotherapy, it's not just immunotherapy, it's not just this direction. I think we have to look at the person 360 degree. How was your conversation about that alternative treatment?
When you say my conversation with the doctor?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, my GP, the GP I went to, I was going to, and I told him, because I'm very straight, whatever, but I looked up and I noticed he had a bookshelf, and in the bookshelf there was a folder, and on the folder it had cannabis written on it. And so I could see that he was obviously open to it. And I was very determined, because I do know the people who have been studying this and working with it for over 10 years, and the successes that it's had with people. I've known of others, friends, who have gone through and used it and healed through it. So they accepted that. And when I went to the hematologist at the hospital, I told him straight away, and he accepted that totally as well. I made it quite sure, yes, I'll do what you're saying, but I'm also going to do this. And they had no problem with me, Liudmila.
Yeah, and thank you, Nina, sharing this, because I think a lot of our viewers needs to hear that that's not only one path. Like you said, we have to be open, and you found this connection with your doctor and make sure that, you saw sign also, and how it's conversation. And you also took, find out there is a stage 4. I know that a lot of times, and I don't know personally, but I see how people face change. It's just so much changing. And you took from alternative medicine to intuitive, to all of this trust through your ancestors, through actual treatment and sitting in the chair. And it's just so valuable, so like inspiring to hear from you how you did. And we just all hope that things just go well for you and your journey, and how you actually inspire, and how you found this special way through the art. And I would love to learn. I hope we will have opportunity to learn more about your art and your feelings and your journey. I truly believe that a lot of people, afraid, speak about it, and we just don't want to speak about that. But I want to hear your opinion. Do you think if we talk about it, does it help us, Or maybe some of us just, if we hold on inside and we keep inside, maybe that's what help us.
Yes. No, if anything, I think as a storyteller, we hold too much inside of us that we don't share. Painful memories, things that have happened to our family and from our parents. I honestly believe, excuse me, that what happened to me was intergenerational trauma. It was brought up in me through the doing of my book. It brought up within my cells. You know, when I did research in this afterwards, and I found, you know, I realized, you would know this, you're a doctor, you know that when a girl baby is born, she has every egg in her ovaries, every egg is a cell, and when that cell is a person, that cell has a memory, and those memories sits there. I had a wonderful childhood. My parents celebrated life. After going through what they went through, they celebrated life, and we had a lot of love, a lot of affirmation and affection. And so my childhood gave me the opportunity to be who I am, and in that I had no fear because my parents taught me not to have fear. And so I think that helped a lot too. Trust and surrender was a big part of it, and story, and understanding that I think every one of us has some intergenerational trauma that we carry, even from childhood, and that if we don't talk about it, it manifests in our body as an illness. That's what I believe anyway.
Thank you, Nina, very much. And we all with you and our heart with you. And thank you so much for sharing such a heartfelt and inspiring story. Thank you.
Thank you, Liudmila. My pleasure.
Nina, I love the way that you took this crisis and transmuted it into gold, literally gold. You know, that analogy of imagining the chemo going through your veins like liquid gold. You know, you went into your own cells and did that. Really?
And gold, yes, and called it gold. You know, sometimes some of the medication calling it different, but that's how powerful words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's all about mindset. It's all about where you put your mind, where you put your focus. Your outlet was in the creativity, capturing all of these beautiful pictures. The art was part of your healing.
That's right.
Absolutely love that. So now we're going to have a fireside chat, ladies, and just go back to everything that we have been discussing during this show. I'm going to start and just share the nuggets of wisdom that I've learned from all three of you, you know, throughout these discussions. First of all, Dr. Schafer, thank you for this amazing show. I think you're going to be bringing into people's homes every single week a source of inspiration with stories like this. I think your knowledge as an expert, but an expert who's open to other ways of healing. Because a lot of times when we go to doctors, they are very, you know, one focus is just on the science and the medicine. But you're right, all about the holistic human being, what motivates, what inspires them, what keeps them on track. So that's one of the beautiful things that I love about you and your practice. Jerry, again, you know, when we first met a couple of years ago, and you told me you were the grandmother of 73 kids, grandchildren, I am in awe with how you live your life. You know, to have started off life at such a young age with such a negative prognosis. And here you are, years later, now you're going through your second round with this health challenge that you have at the moment, but your positivity is just inspiring. And I'm hoping that if there is somebody out there, it could be a young person who's just been diagnosed with cancer, here is an example of what your positive mindset can do for your life. So thank you for sharing that story, Jen.
Thank
And again, Nina, creativity, finding an outlet to put that energy. Because if you keep it inside, it will consume you. You dive straight into your art. For some people, it could be writing a journal.
That's right.
Write about it. It helps get it out of your system. Put it on a piece of paper. With Nina, she put it on a piece of canvas. So that's my 3 cents worth from today's show. Very, very inspired to be a part of this journey with you, Dr. Schafer. Thank you for coming onto our platform.
Thank you very much, Gertrude, for basically having us space and having this conversation. And I think this is such an important conversation, and it's only beginning. For many, many years, I personally did not share my story that, when I came here 20 years ago, and I thought always kind of things go, day after day, and that's what you have to do. And then, this all with pandemic, things change, we reevaluate. But what I really learned from Jerry and from Nina, you are such a young soul. And I believe that we would like to know, and I really would like to ask a question for the audience. Like for Jerry and Nina, how do you start, like from writing or from search? Like, what would be the first? Let's say, I wake up today in the morning and I'm facing this. Where do I start? What would be my very first step, like very basic, that what our viewers could learn, or I can learn?
Go, Jerry.
I'll go ahead. Well, years ago, I had the opportunity to take care of my late husband's grandmother. And she was blind, and they told us she had 2 months to live. And she didn't live 2 months. She lived 12 years. So we took care of her for 12 years. She had Alzheimer's. That process, that was when I started thinking you can face challenges and let them hurt you and destroy you, or you can face them and try and make some fun of it. When we realized that she was not going to pass after 2 months, we made her Alzheimer's story fun. And I wrote a book about it and launched it literally 2 months before I was diagnosed with the cancer. And we made every day, because I had little children, and I wanted my children not to be afraid, and I wanted Grandma there. I wanted her in our home. Part of the reason I said what I said earlier, the wisdom she brought, the stories she brought were uplifting and fun for my kids. She would wake up in the morning and be reliving a new day. So we pretended that we were living that day with her. And instead of telling her she was wrong, we enjoyed her. And that's how that experience was so uplifting for me, that I decided that's how I want to live the rest of my life. I want to enjoy the people around me. By the way, we're up to 105 grandpeople now, between the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. Increased since we've met. But we have so much joy in our lives that we could pull from. And when we're able to do that, then we can really face anything. I mean, there are some things that I can't imagine ever having to face, and I hope I never have to. But I do know that if I ever do have to face those things, that I will be able to, because of who I am, because of my faith, because of the love that as when Nina talked about the love in her home, my father was our strength and our love in our home, and I was lucky enough to have that kind of foundation, and I've been able to carry that with me. And so that's, I just really like that we all have joy, we all have challenges. Where do we want to face? I mean, where do we want to pull from? We can make that choice.
Yeah, and actually, this is so powerful, Jerry, what you said about the foundation. And even if we sometimes have foundation and we rely on our foundation, we also build our foundation. You are the very first person that I actually heard word Alzheimer and check with the humor. And I've been in medicine for a couple of decades and never heard this. So
You
I
gotta read my
actually
book.
learned myself today from you.
You gotta read my book.
Thank you
Yeah.
for building that foundation, actually, in me and for our viewers. Thank you for that.
Yeah. For me, I would wake up every morning, I'd be in gratitude. I really have this thing that says, love is the answer. What is the question? And that is from, that is an old saying, and by Kuang Yin. And I just believe it to be in gratitude. I live in a place that's very beautiful. I'm surrounded by trees. I have a wildlife lagoon in front of me. I have the beach right, just I can see it from my house. And so to be in this place and to heal here, I was constantly in gratitude. And I think that was my morning, no matter how I felt, and give myself some time to just connect with my spirit, because I realize that my physical body is holding my spirit, and my spirit is eternal, and it goes on and on. And I did have an Aboriginal woman did a healing of my spirit, and it wasn't anything to do with my physical body, but it was quite extraordinary because it showed me that we are those two. We need the physical body to carry the spirit. And I know I have a very strong, formidable spirit, and to listen to my body and to do the best thing I can, and to just be kind and not to complain, and just surrender, not to fight. I think I've said that. This whole fight business puts pressure on us. To do everything doesn't mean give into it, but it means surrender to the healing gently. And I am determined now that I've come through this, and I'm working with women with their stories, particularly their childhood stories, to address where often their illness is coming from, which I believe comes right back from childhood, and it's not something that we address. And we hold it inside us. We don't open and share. So I do these story circles, and we go into those, and then we do art. We work with a rock. I call it from a rock to a hard place and beyond, the alchemy of art and story and healing. And that's why I'm here, I think. That's why I'm still here, because I'm meant to be doing these workshops. I'm meant to be sitting with women and giving them a safe place to bring all that they've been carrying in them out. And when they cry and they have a tear, when they go to that hard place, that they actually put that tear in the rock. And then we paint the rock afterwards. And that rock reminds them how many thousands of years that rock's been around and what that rock's been through. And it's come through it, and it's in their hand as they tell their story. They're caressing that rock. That rock is taking their story on, and then they paint the rock through music. And that rock reminds them when they go through that hard place at home or anything that would happen, that rock is there to remind them. That's why I'm still here, I believe.
Oh, Nina, this is, you took us through such a big journey. And right now, I don't even know where to start. Initially, I was going to say that you took us on the beach and all this beautiful scenery. And I was going to say, yeah, the leaves, the scenery inspire us. But the foundation that you provide, and especially how you said that, people have a hard time to surrender. We are humans. It's natural. It's normal. And one thing that a lot of times you brought word fight, and people really feel like if you're not fighting, if you're not giving chemotherapy or immunotherapy or do this means like not fighting. And I believe, or maybe I want to ask you, what do you think? Do we have, even if we don't do that specific infusion, that specific treatment, does it mean that we're not fighting? Does it mean that we're not actually surrounded? Do you think we still may be fighting or not fighting when we're not doing the gold infusion?
I just find the word fighting is a hard word. To me, it takes me to wars. It takes me to people having a go at each other. To me, it's a negative word, and it's a hard word. And if when you fight, you either win or you lose. I don't want to put myself through that. I am not that sort of person. I do not compete, and I think fighting is competing. That doesn't mean I'm not working on myself, but I'm not putting pressure to win at all costs, because I find it hard. But that's just my opinion. It's my journey. And that's how I feel. I think words are very powerful, and words can make a huge difference to relationships, friendships, everything. The way we say something, we need to often change our language, because look what's going on in the world. People are attacking each other. It's like this battle. And if we accept, we can heal. And that doesn't mean that, we just, take me away. It's an acceptance. Okay, this is what's happening in my life right now. But I will get through this, and I will do it slowly, and I will trust it, and I will surrender it. And I became a master of trust and surrender. And then I became a doctor of trust and surrender. It's my own. I put it on myself. And then I became a professor of trust and surrender. I decided that whatever happens, it will not upset me. Somebody's meant to come, they can't come. I'm meant to be there, it's not happening. Total acceptance. And with that, it works for me.
It works. I totally agree with you, Nina. It comes from a place of peace, and I find that same thing is that I feel peace in my heart about my life and about my love and my family and everything, and it's just a step in my journey, and it is definitely a journey, and we'll see how we come out at the end. I have no fear of it. I just know that we get. I mean, I've seen people go through much worse things than I ever have. Yeah. And I think it amazes me the things they've come out with, and I can be that strong too.
I think no fear. No fear.
No fear.
No fear. My parents taught me that, and that's helped me.
Some parents raised things that none of us could ever imagine. So
I know that's right.
They're the ones to listen to.
I'd hate to have lived my life in fear. You don't know what the domestic violence, what goes on in your home, how people treat each other. When you're a child, your parents are your everything. And if they're not in a good place, you're carrying this in you all the time. It must be horrid. I didn't have that.
So, Dr. Liudmila, can you recap the show with words of advice to anybody who's out there listening? I just want to thank the people who did tune in today. We had Deborah in the UK. We had Charlene Greer. You are in Australia or New Zealand, I think. We had Mal Armstrong in Australia as well. People have tuned in, and they've been sharing this video and tagging it with family and friends. What would be your advice to people who are going through the cancer journey right now? And especially in this environment where we're at home, you don't have access to family, to friends because of lockdowns, COVID, etc. I think if you could give us some of your nuggets of wisdom as well before we end, that would be great.
Gertrude, I tell every single day that I'm a student and a patients and a community, our professors. And the same I teach all medical trainees that our patients, our professors. And I always take and I learn. And I think that's so important what I heard, and I would love to hear from our viewers that we took transformation of the word fight into healing. The Alzheimer and the humor. We heard such amazing view how we take through knitting and how we take through writing. And I think right now, if you are at home and you feel that are you not close to your family or friends, and it's so many barriers to get out, then maybe we find something that next to you, maybe just a book or maybe just a piece of paper, and try explore yourself and find little bit and new avenues sitting right there at home in your chair or on the couch or in your yard where you are. We don't need to have a big tools and a lot of different devices and surround us. I think we build our own foundation, and I'm so grateful for our guest. And thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Nina. And Gertrude, is my heart how much we are learning. And I think this is only beginning of sharing stories, and we really learning from each other. So I personally learn a lot. And I would be very, very grateful if our viewers tell what did they learn today. So thank you for that.
That's absolutely wonderful. And the other thing that you need to know is despite the fact that you're in isolation, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling alone, the world is flat now because of the internet. I mean, look at us right now. I'm sitting here in Melbourne, Australia. Nina's in Queensland, Australia. Jerry's in California. You're in Kansas. The world is flat. So use the internet to connect with other people. Look for these positive stories. There are positive people out there who are going through what you're going through, who will share their journey, help you shortcut to get to the end of the challenge that you're going through as well. So the internet can definitely do that for us. So I know that we will be back again with another show next week. Dr. Schafer, do you want to give us a bit of an insight of what's coming with all of the shows that you've been planning for the Doctor Connect show?
So the Doctor Connect show, it's planning to be a sharing story. And I believe that we share through the story and learn lesson. So there will be several episodes. Most, it's our mindset in wellness, our mindset in cancer, our mindset in health, but also how do we use medical technology? How do we use digital technology? How do we find the connection with all things that have been disconnected for so long? So in upcoming episode, there also will be questions and cancers. A lot of will be in terms of inspirational stories about health, wellness, technology, of course, cancer, mindset, and we will be sharing in the next week. There will be coming also special guests, and we are so much looking forward. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And thank you again to our amazing guests. Jerry, Nina, your knowledge, your wisdom is inspiring. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep sharing these stories because they are needed, especially now with everything that is going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Thank you to our main sponsor out in Detroit, Michigan. Skinny Teas is a company that was created by an amazing woman. Her name is Linda. She came on our show as one of our guests and is now one of our main sponsors. Linda, thank you for making this possible for us. Thank you for seeing the vision behind the Her Story movement and being inspired to contribute to allow us to keep curating all of these magical stories from all over the world, supporting women, supporting families, and supporting each other. I think we do change the world through our stories, one person at a time, one woman at a time. And we'll be back again with more amazing shows. Dr. Schafer is going to be a regular on our platform. Jerry O'Lyon is going to be heading our first California event. Nina will be holding our first Queensland event. She just hasn't know it yet.
Except I don't live in Queensland. I live in New South Wales,
Oh, it's New
Gertrude.
South Wales. Why do I keep thinking you're in Queensland?
Maybe because I'm on the Central Coast and you think it's the Sunshine Coast. But no, I'm about 100 kilometres from Sydney, north of Sydney.
New South Wales. Okay, New South Wales it is. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. And thank you, ladies, for being here tonight.
Thank
Bye
you,
for now,
Gertrude.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Gertrude.
Bye-bye.